Hello, everyone. Hope you all are doing well. Come on in the room, get settled in. I am Mambo Soleil, and this is a good one. Sorry, it's gonna have to wait. I'm Mambo Soleil. I am Coven Mother of Vision of Dontor. I'm the founder, facilitator of the Charm School Mentorship Program, which I'm here to talk about tonight. I am a weekly reader here on YouTube. I do multiple readings and segments throughout the week that are offered for free to the public. Oh, sorry, this little. And I'm a dope bitch straight up out of Oakland. Hello. I won't be on here very long tonight. I just wanted to take time to do a little bit of an info session about my mentorship program. I didn't realize until a couple weeks ago that it's probably been a few years since I've done this. So you guys hear me talk about my mentorship opportunities a lot, but I've never really talked about them in detail. So I wanted to come on here tonight. Doubt I'll be on here for more than 20 minutes, if that. Unless people come in and ask questions, but I just wanted to get something on record where I talk about my program. I see that we do have a viewer tonight, so if you want to introduce yourself and say hi so that I can talk back and this can be an exchange, I would greatly appreciate that. But so Charm School. Charm School is my mentorship program, my spiritual mentorship program. I call it a priestess training program because that's pretty much what it is. I train people on how to heal themselves using practical magic, foundational roots of the Hoodoo tradition, and just some tricks and tips that I've learned along the way. I use those to teach people how to heal themselves. And in healing themselves, I also sharpen and develop their skill sets so that they can go out in the world and heal other people. I want to also hey, Tamika, hey, Juanice, good to see you both. So if you had to link Charm School to an ATR or a spiritual tradition, it is a Hoodoo program. That is the primary source of the information that I use to teach and train people. Now, I myself am a child of Vodou. I've been baptized in the tradition. So there is a little bit of training about Vodou that happens in Charm School, but it is primarily a Hoodoo program. Even when I do bring in Vodou, it is to talk about African traditional spirituality in a broader context, to talk about the nature of elemental magic, foundational magic, what it means to use nature in order to move your spirituality forward, right? But it is a Hoodoo program in and of itself. Now, let's talk a little bit about structure, some of the foundational things you'll learn. I've taught a little bit of everything, right? Right now, I have my girls primarily focusing on astrology. We do engage in shadow work, and we revisit shadow work frequently. And the reason why we do that is because you really cannot be, let me rephrase that. I think it is unethical to be a priest or a priestess and not be actively engaged in your shadow work journey. And so when we do shadow work in my program, it is with the intent to heal your wounds so those wounds don't become impediments to how you serve and heal your community. Let's talk a little bit about program structure. There's a minimum of one class every week. So when you sign up for Charm School, you will be getting anywhere between 3 to 4 new courses every month, okay? Typically, there's a weekly class, so 4 weeks in a month. There's about 3, sometimes 4 classes that are taught. I do try to leave at least 1 week free and available to people so that we can rest. It is easy to get burnt out on this work, and that is something that I take in mind. So within a 1 month period of time, there will be typically 2 mandatory classes, 1 optional class, and then a week where people are free to catch up on work, right? And depending on what month it is and what we're learning, those lessons can be about astrology, those lessons can be root work. We go over herbs all often. You cannot call yourself a child of Hoodoo or a root worker if you don't know how to literally work the root. So that is the foundation of what we do. Herbalism is at the base of what we do predominantly. You will learn how to do workings that I'm teaching that are bespoke workings that I've created that I know are successful because I've used them to heal myself or I've used them to help and heal clients. In addition to that, you will learn how to come up with your own workings, right? That is a huge part of being a priestess. Someone may come to you with a problem, and before you go get a spell book, you are encouraged to get your own grimoire, right? And to use workings that you come up with. So you will be taught how to think practically about magic and how to use that wisdom to craft your own workings, create your own oils, create your own products, learning how to make Florida water, etc. We also talk quite a bit extensively about the ethics of magic, right? And that is important to me because I see a lot of bullshit on the internet. Thanks to TikTok, thanks to Instagram, I see a lot of people promote things that are spiritually and magically unethical. I have also been harmed in my past by people who lack spiritual ethics. And because of the Loa that I work with, and because of the nature of my ancestors, it is my responsibility to teach people about spiritual and magical ethics. When you learn these things, it can be tempting to move from your own ego and your own spiritual deficits and do things that go against protocol. You will fuck up your bloodline in doing that, right? So that's a huge part of what this is: ancestral worship, ancestral practice. So in teaching everyone about the ethics of spirituality, as well as the ethics of ancestral practice, my hope and my goal is that I give people frameworks to think about so that they don't do things to harm their bloodlines, right? Everyone wants to say that they're breaking generational curses and then will easily go out there and do selfish things that bring deficit to their bloodlines, causing generational curses, right? So a huge part of what we go over in Charm School is breaking down and discussing the ethics. So we do probably once a month. I try to make it once a month, but sometimes, especially if we have a lot of theory and things to go over, it may not happen once a month, but I try at least once a month to do labs with my girls where we go over case studies and we talk about the ethics of the nature of the case studies. And we discuss in a group what would be the best way to approach this. Sometimes when you are a professional priestess, the thing that your client comes to you about is not what they need. Somebody can be upset because their ex is with somebody new and they want to hex the ex and they want to hex the new girl. That may ethically not be what they need, right? What they need is to do a working to call in a new lover so that they can mind their own business. What they need to do may be some self-love work, right? They may need to focus on doing prosperity work to get their money up so they're not sitting around stalking people's Instagram and getting upset in the first place, right? So those are things we learn about in this priestess training program. What is the ethics? What are the ethics of doing this work spiritually? What does it mean to give a client what they need as opposed to what they want, right? A huge part of this work is making sure that you're not moving in a way that is money hungry. If you are a money hungry priest or priestess, you will do things that are unethical. You will allow people to bring potential harm to their bloodlines. We don't do that shit in Charm School. You will not do that under my supervision. So again, I teach a lot about spiritual ethics. I teach a lot about foundations of practical magic. I teach a lot about hoodoo history, as well as the history of other ATRs, so that we can understand how these religions came to be and how they lead to how they lead to revelation and breakthrough. As a child of Vodou, I believe that Vodou is revolutionary. There's a reason why Haiti is literally the only country, Black country, that has been able to fight for and gain their independence and freedom. Now, there has been a lot of cost to that, but that is revolutionary, right? So we talk about those things when we study the history, not only of African-American spirituality, which is what hoodoo is. It is literally the only American religion, right? So we talk about the history of it. how it's changed over time. And we talk about it within the broader context of the diaspora, right? So looking at Haitian Vodou, looking at Ifa, looking at Palo Mayombe, looking at Santeria, and talking about how those things play into a broader historical, spiritual, and religious context for melanated people. So that is Charm School. There are 2 levels. There's one level that gives you access to the classes, access to my Discord and the Coven chat, as well as access to being placed within a group. And then there's another level that gives you all of that along with monthly consultations from me. So there is opportunity to work with me in a one-on-one context, get direct tutoring, get support with learning how to do divination. A lot of you all don't know how to do divination, but you're still doing magic. That is an easy way to get yourself fucked up spiritually. You need to know how to do divination in order to understand whether or not you even have spiritual authorization to do certain types of spell work, right? To know whether or not doing a working will put you in harm's way, to have understanding around whether or not you need to do a working multiple times, because that's another thing about magic. It's not just burning one candle. It's not just taking one bath. You may have to do things over an extended period of time. So divination is also at the foundation of what I do. In fact, for those of you who've been around me long enough, you know that Charm School mentorship program actually started as a tarot mentorship program. So the first 2 years that I was teaching mentorship, it was rooted in tarot. So that is something that you will learn. You will learn how to read tarot. You will learn how to interpret tarot. You will learn how to incorporate tarot into your spell work and divination, right? And that is not the only form of divination that we learn. We will learn how to read bones as well. A lot of my girls, not in Charm School, but in my Vodou mentorship program, are amazing at scrying. You give them a bowl of water, you give them a candle, they're going to read that flame, they're going to read that water, and they're going to tell you all your business. They're going to tell you what you need to know. So scrying is something that is encouraged in my program as well. I personally have been teaching myself how to read dominoes for the last couple of years. That is something that I hope to incorporate into Charm School at some point. But the main 3 divinatory forms that we learn are tarot, scrying, and bone reading. So you will learn how to divine. You will learn how to craft your own spell workings. You will learn how to do what I call spiritual prescriptions, right? The same way that you go to a doctor to get diagnosed and to be prescribed either a set of medications or habits that you need to engage in to heal yourself. It's the same thing with being a priestess, right? That's what people go to medicine women for. That's what people go to priestesses for, right? You go to the lady to have them diagnose you spiritually and to give you a set of medicines and prescriptive workings to help you navigate the issues you deal with in life. And I take that very seriously. Again, that's why we do the labs, right? It is to teach people what it means to assess a situation, diagnose what is happening spiritually, and then to craft medicines, which are your oils, your spiritual baths, your potions, your poisons, depending on what you're getting into, right? In order to heal or help a situation. This is supposed to be medicinal. When we talk about healing, it is medicinal. And so that is the framework with which I teach, and that is the framework with which I operate. I see we have quite a few people in the room, some familiar faces and some new. Hello, Sylvia. Hello, Bertal. Hello, Sinidra. Bertal, you've been in my mentorship for a couple of years now. If you have anything that you would like to share about your experience in Charm School, what you've learned, what you are currently learning, how the program has helped you, I would tremendously appreciate it. But, you know, I didn't ask you beforehand, so I know sometimes it's difficult being put on the spot. So if you don't feel comfortable, you are in no way obligated, but it would be helpful if you have anything to contribute. To everyone else, go ahead and put your questions in the comments. I'm going to be on here for about another 10, maybe 15 minutes. So having questions will really help me tremendously. Um, in addition to, so some people may not be ready for Coven. I take Coven very seriously. Coven is not just something that you get to throw out and say you're a part of and not contribute to. That's a huge part of the reason why I give everyone accountability buddies and I put my girls into groups, because it's to teach them how to take care of their sisters, how to check in on their sisters, how to be vulnerable with their sisters, right? A lot of people want community, but they don't know how to be vulnerable in community. So having a Coven that you can go to and say, look, I'm at capacity, pray for me. Look, I'm dealing with this. My head is not clear. Can you do a reading for me? Do you have suggestions? Have you ever dealt with this? How did you navigate it in terms of coming up a prescription? Those are all things that I value tremendously in Coven. Okay. Hey, Nicole, good to see you. So that's a huge part of the reason why I have my program structured the way that I do. And a lot of people, again, with this social media era where everybody wants to be a priestess, people focus on the authority of being a priestess and they fetishize that. And everybody wants to be a big bad spiritually, but no one wants to be vulnerable. I don't trust priests or priestesses that don't have a priest or a priestess that they go to. Same way that I don't trust therapists that don't have a therapist that they go to, right? And so a huge part of being a priest or priestess is learning how to be vulnerable. Going to your Coven and saying, hey, I need prayer. Hey, I need support. I need to kick around this idea. What do you guys think? Those are all things that are very, very valuable about being in Coven. So a huge part of it is learning how to be vulnerable enough to ask for the help you need. There are a lot of people out here that are suffering because they don't want to exercise the humility necessary to get their support. And that is something that we really stress in Charm School. But everyone's not ready for Coven, right? And because everyone's not ready for Coven, I also have an independent study, a self-paced independent study mentorship program called Study Hall, right? So basically, it is an online program. People get 2 to 3 classes a month. They get feedback on the assignments as they do them. But unlike Charm School, the assignments are not mandatory. So you get to do it at your own pace. So if you know you need to learn wisdom around spirituality, around ancestral worship, around what it means to do this work ethically and safely, but you're not ready for Coven, you're not ready for active participation, feel free to ask me about Study Hall. Study Hall is a great option for people who are not ready for Coven, but who want to get ready for Coven. Bertal has shared her experience of Charm School, and she says, my divination skills have improved, and I'm at a point where I am reading smoke. Yes. I remember, okay, so remember at the retreat when I saw you doing that? I don't know if it was your first time, but I remember seeing it, and I was so proud of you. At my first retreat, my Divine Feminine Hoodoo retreat in 2024, I got to witness Bertal reading smoke, and it was beautiful. It was beautiful to witness. I've had my ups and downs. The discipline has helped me pinpoint where issues are. Thank you for sharing that, Bertal. She also said, magic is not needed for issues that come up. Also, my dream interpretation has improved. That's another skill set. And I have to get better at reminding people that dream interpretation is a divinatory form. And I'm going to be completely transparent about my journey as a priestess. Dream interpretation is something that I stumbled into. I didn't realize that it was a spiritual gift within my bloodline. Even though I've had vivid dreams and have received premonitions and downloads since I was a small child, it was something that was dismissed and somewhat kind of stifled. My elders didn't know any better. It was stifled within me. So once I started really getting into my ancestral veneration practice, and after I had my baptism, it only increased more dramatically. And so that is a divinatory form that I engage in quite often. It's one that my girls have taken on and sharpened for themselves. And it's something that I really, really love. In fact, Lovana, one of my Vodou godchildren, taught a dream alchemy workshop. And it's a skill set that she is very, very gifted, very, very gifted with. So again, that is another divinatory form that we really, really practice and evaluate in charm school. Another thing about charm school, and I meant to say this earlier, but it slipped my mind. So we do have the new 3 to 4 monthly classes that are offered. In addition to that, when you join charm school, you get access to my entire back catalog of classes. Okay. So say you want to learn more about divine feminine and divine masculine archetypes in tarot. Rather than me reteaching that class over again, you just say in the Discord, hey, Mambo, what do I do about this? How do I engage with these cards? And I will just send you the class. So any class that I've taught in the past, if you are in charm school, you have access to it. In fact, when you first join charm school, you get a set of about 5 classes that I consider foundational. And I encourage people to take the first 2 weeks or so to familiarize themselves with those replays. There's a wealth of wisdom that you have access to. I've been doing mentorship programs for 4 years. And in the broader scheme of things, I know that there are probably some more senior priestesses that are hearing that and they're like, 4 years ain't shit. It probably ain't to y'all, but 4 years is a lot to me and it's a lot to most people. And to have 4 years of classes as someone who teaches frequently, there's more than 100 and something classes that people have access to. I teach a lot. So there will not be a dearth of information. If anything, pacing yourself with the lessons in charm school is something that you really have to teach yourself. This is not information that is meant for you to cram. This is not intro statistics in college. You don't cram this information. You sit with it, you let it nourish you, you let it change you. Bratal, I'm currently doing Reiki and crystal healing. You've been pushing me to continue to explore. That's another thing. A lot of my girls, particularly in my Vodou Coven, and there's a reason why I'm not promoting the Vodou Coven. If you join Charm School, I'll explain that. Actually, I'll explain that now. Charm School, again, the foundations are Hoodoo, and it's an intro to African spirituality. A lot of the people who join Charm School are called to other spiritual traditions that are not Vodou, right? They're called to Ifa, they're called to Paloma Ambre. They're called to all kinds of things. And so I never want anybody to feel like just because they're getting mentorship from me, that they have to go into Vodou. Vodou is a very specific calling. It is not everyone's calling. So I want to make it very, very clear that just because I am a child of Vodou, let me take my banner off. Oh, that is tacky. I'm so sorry. This is not a reading thing, so I don't want people to think they need to give me love offerings. That's not a necessity. So yeah, if you are just interested in getting foundations around Hoodoo and learning more about African spirituality in and of itself, Charm School is perfect for you. If along your path and your time in Charm School and getting an ancestral life path reading, you learn that you need to go into another tradition, I more than welcome that. And in fact, I will dip into my community because I have friends and colleagues that are a part of other spiritual traditions. I will dip into my community and put you in contact with people that I trust. But everyone who does Charm School does not baptize or initiate into Vodou. I want to make that very, 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 very clear. I don't want anybody to feel like that is an obligation. Tamika, you said, I need to arm. What does that mean? Let me know a little bit more. I want to make sure that I'm giving you the info and the information that you need. So type in the comments and explain what you mean by I need to arm. Bratal said, and astrology lectures have helped me understand myself more. Again, going back to self-actualization and shadow work. That's a huge part of why I teach astrology. I am not an expert at all. If you guys want to get readings from an expert, the 2 people that I would recommend to you are Karen Boone, who is a brilliant astrologer. She's amazing at predictive astrology in particular. And Sagittarian Mind, aka Jason. That's my astrologer. I've been seeing him since 2015. Again, don't trust priests and priestesses that don't have healers that they go to. I have an astrologer that I work with. I have a mambo that I get readings from. I have a life coach that I work with. So I have a lot of self-awareness. That's something I pride myself on. And I allow my students to come to me with critique as long as it's respectful. So because I love myself and I'm rooted in my identity, this is not something that I do for power. I'll just say it that way. I'm not going to, you guys already know that there are a lot of people that are power hungry in this work. I don't operate that way. I'm here to help and I'm here to heal. I'm here to be a vessel for spirit. And Charm School allows me the opportunity to do that. I've taught a lot of people and I've helped and healed a lot of people. And here's the thing. I do recommend that if you connect to Charm School and that if you join, that you have it in your mind that you're going to make a minimum of a 6-month commitment. Now, here's the thing. I'm not going to beg I'm not in the business of keeping nobody that don't want to be kept, whether it's a student, whether it's a nigga. Like, I don't believe in that. So if you need to leave sooner or if you need to leave at all, I will let you go with grace. And, there will always be an opportunity for you to come back. But the reason why I recommend a minimum of 6 months is because you are learning how to do healing. And so, like I said earlier, this is not something that you cram through, right? You're not going to take one tarot class and become a tarot expert. You're not going to do one divination lab and, be able to read the house down. You're not going to take one herbalism class and then be prepared to open an apothecary. You need a minimum of 6 months of engaging with the material, of getting consultations from me to really be able to understand and assess for yourself whether or not this is your path. There's nothing worse than having somebody join for 1 or 2 months and then falling out and being like, well, I didn't learn anything. Nigga, of course you didn't learn anything. You didn't stay around long enough to learn a goddamn thing, respectfully. I said just earlier today I was going to cuss less. I apologize, right? So again, if you want to join, have it in your mind that you need to have your finances together as well as your schedule together enough to make a minimum of a 6-month commitment. Now, if after 6 months you decide that it's not for you any longer, I totally understand. Don't be a stranger. Let me know how things are going with you once you leave. But this is not something you are meant to do for just a couple of weeks and then call yourself an expert. And respectfully, if I see you doing out in the community, I will put you on blast because that's dangerous, not just for you, but for other people. Okay? So that's one thing I want to make very, very clear. I love this program. I'm going to be really honest. Teaching me has opened me up as a priestess because I am someone who is a perpetual student. And so in the process of learning, in the process of bringing my lessons back to my girls and them asking me further questions, it has motivated me to get further training. So some of you guys know that I got my introduction into working with animal matter through working with chicken feed. And that was just a spiritual download I got on a retreat. And then from there, I learned that chicken feed amulets are powerful in hoodoo. That has opened the door for me to now get training, with taxidermy and to learn more about working with animal matter. And that has turned into more wisdom that I've been able to give to my students, right? So I love my mentorship program. It's my baby. It brings me a lot of joy. And whether people have been with me for a few months or whether they've been with me for a few years, I have seen it open up a lot for people in terms of their spiritual walk. Ratal said, yep, I asked you about a particular subject. You were honest and told me that you were not seasoned in that area, Now we are getting a class thanks to your honesty. Yeah, I get my ego fed in my personal life. I have a well-rounded life. So I don't need to be the end all be all of all knowledge. If somebody comes to me and they say we want to learn something and I don't know it, that is my motivation to either learn it or to bring in an expert from my community who knows about it. And that's actually something that my girls are going to be getting more of as we go into the end of the year and into next year. I will be co-teaching a lot more with other people that are experts in other areas. I care about you getting the right information. I don't care about seeming like the big bad in the room. That's not a need for me. All right, Tamika. Well, if you do have a question that you want me to address, please put it in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer that. Debbie D said, who the hell is calling me at this hour? I be here in this house doing divinations, doing readings, talking to spirit. Don't nobody want to talk to me. But if I get on this damn StreamYard, people be calling me out of nowhere. I know who that number is too. I'll say this. You think a Mercury retrograde is going to bring people back from your past. A Neptune retrograde, my nigga, a Neptune retrograde will bring people out of the woodworks. But Debbie said, I'm glad you agree. Weight off my mind. Timing is important. We can only grow as we go. Absolutely, Debbie. Absolutely. That is the truth. Yeah, so if anyone has any specific questions about Charm School, please go ahead and put them in the comments. I'm more than, why? Sorry. I wore the wrong bra and the titties are trying to make an appearance. This is not about y'all. Stay inside. Any other questions that you have, please put them in the comments. I'm more than happy to answer questions that you all have. There is a retreat that happens once yearly. Starting next year, I'm going to also be doing plant medicine retreats. There are discounts for my ladies who are in my mentorship for those retreats. So once I start advertising the Sacred Alignment Divine Feminine Hoodoo Retreat, once I start advertising the Hoodoo Mentorship, or not the Hoodoo Mentorship, the Plant Medicine Retreat, if you guys want to attend, there will be slight discounts for you if you are enrolled in Charm School. So that's another benefit. My retreats are amazing, if I do say so myself. That's the one thing you're going to hear my arrogance come out about. My retreats are badass. Not only do we learn a lot, we turn up. We have fun. We have a tremendous amount of fun. And the Divine Feminine Hoodoo Retreat, which will be happening in 2026, will take place the last weekend of June in San Diego, California. San Diego is one of my favorite cities in the entire world. I absolutely love San Diego. So we will not only be learning foundational lessons about hoodoo, we will be learning about the syncretization of hoodoo with Christianity, whether it's the Baptist religion or Catholicism. There is a church that I will be taking everyone to visit that has a lot of supernatural energy around it. I have had experiences with the Loa at that church. I'm not going to talk about that in detail here. If you sign up for the retreat and you join us, you will learn more about it. We will also be doing some ritual with the ocean. If you've been to San Diego, you know that it is surrounded by some of the most beautiful beaches in the world. And there's a beach in particular where I've had strong experiences of both my ancestors, other people's ancestors have shown up, and I've also experienced the Loa there. And so I'm super excited about the 2026 retreat, which will be happening in June. Juanice wants to know how they join my mentorship. Well, there's a link to the WhatsApp group that's in the comments, not in the comments, in the description of this video. You should be able to click that link and join the WhatsApp to get more information about the program, as well as how to sign up. What I'm going to do right now is put that link also in the comments. Give me 1 second. Hopefully it won't give feedback, because sometimes when I do things on my phone, okay, hold on a second. Let me go into the video and leave it in the comments. It won't give feedback, because sometimes when I do things. There I go. There goes the delay in my voice. Okay. So there should be in the comments section here, it should update soon with the link to Charm School or to the WhatsApp. But you just literally go to the WhatsApp. Every time somebody new enters the WhatsApp, I put more information. Let's see. Let me put it again. Let me know if you all see it in the live chat. It should be showing up in the live chat. If it's not, let me know, and I'll try to do it specifically through StreamYard. I'm not the most tech savvy person, people, so forgive me in advance. Let's see. Let me try to do it this way. Is everyone able to see that link? There should be a link to a WhatsApp that's in the comments section. If you don't already see the link, and the link is also in the descriptions. I always make it a point to put the link to my intake group in all the description of my videos. You see it, Juanice? Perfect. Join that group. Before the night is over, I'll repost all the information, including pricing, as well as deadline. Now, you do have to do an interview, okay? It's a brief interview. It's just me and my Vodou girls asking you a few questions. I'm going to be really honest. Unless it's clear that you're not ready at all, the likelihood of you being turned down is not high. And even if we do determine that you're not ready for Charm School, I will let you into study hall and we'll talk about a timeline for getting you ready to Charm School. I want to be completely honest about the fact that this is a commitment. This is a commitment. And because it is a commitment, if you're not ready, I'm not going to rush you into it. But I also don't believe in leaving people out in the cold. So if there's reasons why it feels like you're not ready, I'll be honest with you about those reasons, and I'll help you develop a timeline to get ready. But join that link, hit that link to join the WhatsApp group, and from there you'll get information about how to join, okay? Does anyone else have any questions about my program before we wrap up? I said I was going to be on here for 20 or 30 minutes. I've been on for 45. So any questions before we wrap up for the night? Go ahead and put your questions in the comments. Final words. This program will change your life if you work it. As with all things, you get from it what you put into it. The only people that I've seen who have ever been dissatisfied with Charm School are those people that I mentioned earlier who come for a few weeks, don't show up to classes, don't talk to their group mates, don't use their consultation time with me, and then they get frustrated and they say, well, I'm not learning anything. This is not University of Phoenix. This is not whatever other online courses or schools, DeVry, whatever the fuck. It's not that, right? So no, you can't just cram information and think you're going to have personal transformation and become a priestess. You actively have to engage. And so I want to make it very, very clear. This is not something where you think that just because you pay me a fee every month, you get to be disengaged. I have turned people away and made them leave my program. People that were paying me on time and consistently, I put them out of my program because they were not ready. Yes, you do need to pay dues. Yes, there is a fee, but that fee does not absolve you from being an active participant in your own spiritual development. Okay, so I do want to make that very, 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 very clear. It's really important that everyone understands that before they seek this out. I would love to have you if you're ready. Absolutely love to have you if you're ready. Sanidra, I heard that, Sanidra. Sanidra said they can sponsor me. Sanidra said if they gonna pay, but they not gonna show up, they might as well sponsor her. I hear that, Sanidra. Put that into the universe. Put that into the universe. Do a working around it. Do a working around it. I don't think I've ever told anyone this. When I was in my mentorship program, when I first started my spiritual path, before I even, and again, I entered mentorship just because I needed a personal breakthrough. At that time, I did not know it was on my plate to be a priestess. Nobody explained that that was a part of my path. I had no idea that going into spiritual mentorship would put me in a position where 5.5, 6 years later, I'm teaching and guiding other people. I had no idea. I just knew that I did not like where things were going in my life, and I felt like I needed personal breakthrough. About 3 months in, some shit happened, and I didn't know where the money was going to come from. And I had somebody sponsor me for an additional 3 months. I've never told anybody that. I've never told anybody that. It was somebody in my community. For the Vodou Girls, if you're wondering who it is, you know, the lady who volunteered her house so that we can have our own personal Vodou retreat, it was her. It was her. She saw what it was doing in my life, and because she is my friend and in my community, she was like, I don't want you to tap out of this. And she gave me money for a few months to continue. And in that continuation, I was able to learn some workings and make some shit shake so that my money got back in order, right? But I say that to say, if finances are an impediment for you, there's workings that you can do to open up roads for it. So again, in addition to me having study hall for people who may not be ready for Coven or who may not be able to afford Charm School, I also have a Patreon. We do one class a month in my Patreon for all paid members. And the tiers of my Patreon are $5 to $40, depending on the level of access that you want. I'm all about using things as a stepping stone to get to where you want. And I've taught multiple classes about money work in the Patreon. So if you have blockages and you don't have the money for Charm School monthly, join the Patreon. Get the wisdom there. Use that wisdom and turn it into spiritual workings that you can use to get your money up so that you can be where you want to be, right? But if that's like, no joke, Sanidra, I'm serious. If you feel like you need a sponsor, girl, you just from the Patreon alone, you have more than enough information to do a spiritual working to call that in for you. No judgments. You get it how you need to get it. Community support is real. So I want to thank you all for joining. I am going to end here tonight because I do have workings that I need to do, or that I need to, visit and put some ashe into for some clients. And I do want to go to bed before 2 a.m. tonight. So I'm going to call it a night. I'm going to end it here. I will repost the replay both in the Charm School mentorship chat as well as in the Sacred Roots Facebook group. If you are not already in the Sacred Roots Facebook group, the link to that is also in the description. So join that group. Typically when I'm teaching a class or offering a service, if not my Patreon, Sacred Roots is one of the first places where I advertise it. Okay? Bertal, if she tells me to do something that comes up in a reading, do it. You will be kicking yourself. I don't give advice just to hear myself speak. I really don't. I say this all the time and people don't believe me because life has brought me to a place where I talk on camera for a living and I talk to people all day for a living. But I'm actually really quiet and I don't like to talk. So you're never going to worry about me being the girl that says things just to fill up dead air. If I advise you to do something, it's because it works or spirit moved me to tell you to do it. Okay. I'm glad you were able to make a live chat too, Juanice. I've been thinking about you a lot. I will reach out to clients occasionally, but I don't want to be accused of smothering. So I think it's been a minute since I've reached out to you, but you've been on my heart recently. So I'm really, really glad that you tuned in tonight, especially for this. You already know I would love to have you in charm school. You know that I feel like there's a place for you there. So hopefully things work out. Love you all. There's not going to be a happy hour this week, just because, again, I have classes that I need to teach, both for the Voodoo Girls and for Charm School. But there will be a happy hour next week. I will be back on Sunday for the weekly energy reading. So make sure that you are subscribed and that you have the notifications set up so that you can visit that. And again, I hope to see you all, if not in Charm School, then in Study Hall. If you need to start with the Patreon, consider that. Again, one class a month is better than no classes, okay? Love you all. Take care. I'll see you Sunday. If you want to talk to me one-on-one, if you want to book a reading, my link to my website is below as well, soleilconjureshop.com. Or you can text me at 404-654-3246. But until Sunday, I want you all to take care and good night.